Hafaday, I'm Nick Delgado. Welcome to a new episode of The Hub. This week we explore the topic of getting our youth to participate and out there and involved in the election process. Here's a look at the Judiciary of Guam's Voices of Democracy Engaging Our Young Voters panel discussion, which was held recently at the University of Guam.
In democracies, the people rule by sharing and speaking their minds and voting in its elections. In this way, the public ensures that the government remains responsive to the needs of our island. We need citizens who are engaged, informed, and invested in the workings of our government and the electoral process. For our elections to matter, people need to know that their votes matter, especially young people. Unfortunately, there is a lack of enthusiasm for elections. Gen Zers and millennials, who make up a significant portion of our electorate, making them a very formidable political force, are becoming disenfranchised with the process. Young voters typically have a lower turnout rate than that of their older citizens. And I think you'll hear perhaps from Maria, who might have some stats that she'd share, but recent trends are concerning, with voter turnout really coming at an all-time low. I think last year was the lowest, in the 24 election was the lowest voter turnout we had, or 22, since 1950. And there's really a lower engagement and participation by the young voters aged 18 to 24. And that's why we're here today. 11%
of the total voter registry is 18 to 24. Right now, our vote for 2022, there were 60,462 registered voters for the general election. It seems like for the 2024 general election, we will surpass this number. And I have to say that voter registration is so much easier because you can now register online. You can register at the Department of Revenue and Taxation in the driver's license section. Thanks to Senator Mary Torres back in 2015, you can go there and register at the same time you get your new driver's license or your renewal for your driver's license, as well as your Guam ID. You can also register with volunteer registrars. Volunteer registrars list is on our website at gec.guam.gov and also at all 19 mayors' offices.
I believe today that we need to consider what are those same actions that could encourage and bring fire to the youth vote. In layman's terms, I'm curious, what are we excited about? What are elements other than roads and education? It sounds like an answer we would typically hear, but unfortunately, it's not so, for lack of a better word, sexy to go out and vote for these items. So I would consider that there's a disconnect because the youth don't see the value in their vote or what they might receive in return. I believe there needs to be evidence for the youth to say, my vote has translated to this specific benefit for myself or for my family, and then you'll see that resurgence of interest. But my message would be, dream and dare bigger, right? And that involves your participation, that involves your voice, and have hope that at some point you'll see the direct connection between your participation in the political process and the results and the benefits that our community experiences. But we have to continue to keep up with that hope, as hard as it can be. Well, it's important because we are only on borrowed time. So at some point we have to leave this place as a better place than how we received it.
I can see a lot of my peers getting more politically engaged, talking to me, asking me questions. As the CNMI Youth Congress representative for my school, they're like, hey, like, what's going on right now? Do you know what's going on with service learning? Did the CNMI Youth Congress pass that bill? Or what's going on with the changed schedule for the double session? I want to ask the students of other schools, just because you're not impacted directly, does that mean that you're not going to exercise your voice? What if this ends up happening to you? You should vote to prevent things like this to happen to you. Currently, there's middle schools and elementary schools still doing double session and going online and then in person every other day. And I think the youth have been directly impacted, and now we're all something lit inside of us, and I can see that. And I believe that our generation, my generation, in the future will be coming out to the polls. We're just not old enough quite yet. Once we are old enough, I believe we'll see an increase in those polls, because we don't want to see politicians sitting in their office doing nothing. We want to see change, because we want the world to be an okay place to live in the future for us and for our children. And that's what I would ask them to help encourage them.
When it comes to voting, of course you're going to have, a section of the population, especially people in our generation, who are simply, maybe they're just too lazy to get up and vote. And then there's also a good amount of people who I did discuss these topics with about in preparation for this forum. Do you care to vote or not, and why not? And a lot of them did say they didn't care to. Well, going to a lot of my friends and peers who did say, they don't care to, for various reasons. Either they just don't have the time to think about it, they're too busy working, or worrying about their family. Well, kind of going into the breakdown of the hospital, our one public hospital, one Memorial Hospital. You may say, I can always go to a private establishment later when I get hurt. Well, what if you can't? You may not care now, but you're going to have to care later, because one day it might not just be you, it will be your family who has to go to GMH. And then what? We all saw the video, I'm assuming, about the leak that happened in the hospital. We've known about the problems with the maternity ward. We've known about the problems with the mold buildup and the air conditioning. And how long is it going to take for you to care until it directly affects you and you're in trouble too? With GDOE, with the high schools. Just like Ms. Rachel Cho mentioned, how long is it going to take, and I'm talking to the high schoolers who may or may not see this, how long will it take for you to care until it actually affects you? Because one day it won't just be JFK and Simon Sanchez that will have to go through this, who have to go through this. It won't just be them, it might just be your school next, and that's going towards the middle schools and the elementary schools. So when will it be you? And it's probably time to start caring before it actually starts troubling you. With DOC and GBD, we had an inmate escape recently. And, if you voice out, if you're so concerned with inmates escaping, maybe you have someone who's an inmate at DOC, and the population reached over 900 just April. You have all these people who are staying in prison because, we're really good at putting people in prison, but we're not really great at keeping them out. We don't have halfway houses here. Our drug rehabilitation, our mental health rehabilitation for inmates, ex-prisoners too, it's not great. And so there's also this whole thing with them not having places to go after they leave DOC. So a lot of them, the reality, and I talked with Major Anton Uggen about this, is that a lot of them will continue to repeat crimes, and the recidivism will still be there because they're going to look for a place to stay, and we're not really providing that for them. And if that's such a concern for you, if you feel like your family's in danger, or if you have someone who needs help at DOC who is bound to come out early, then voice your opinion and vote.
Voting and participating in the political process is really the way that everybody gets to have their voice heard, right? Unfortunately, not everybody could be representatives, right? That's not the way that our government system is set up. That's not the way democracy is set up. But by voting, by going out there to the polls, by voting for the leaders that you believe best represent your interests, you are voicing out your opinions, you are participating in the political process, you are participating in the choices that are being made, right? And so I think that's what's important, and I think that's what kind of gets lost a lot when we talk about why it's important to vote. Everybody talks about the big picture things, but really, at the end of it, the core foundation of voting is that it's our exercise of our voice, it's our exercise of the decisions that are made in our democratic process, and I think that everybody needs to take advantage of that and take advantage of the right that they have to vote, because, you know, you're not going to be the senator up there speaking on the floor perhaps, but because you vote, you are able to say, hey, this is the issues that matter to me, and this is the issues that I want to be addressed by those senators, by the governor that is in those seats and are advocating for it. So I think that's what's important about the political process and why everyone should vote.
Important notes to pass down to the generations. Next on the Hub, we check in with a discussion up in the CNMI with their Youth Congress. Keep it here. And now our Tomas Mangonia sits down with the CNMI Youth Congress for a discussion on what issues matter to them this election. They cannot vote yet, but they're still making it clear that their voices do matter.
We are joined with the CNMI Youth Congress, so we'll go ahead and start with introductions. Maybe we'll start with the speaker, and we'll go down the line, and we also have a member joining us on Zoom. So please, yes.
So my name is Vinny Juan Sublan. I am the youth senator from Cagman High. I'm also the speaker of the 19th CNMI Youth Congress, and I am 16 years old.
Okay, happy day everyone. My name is Miley Peter. I'm the floor leader in the 19th CNMI Youth Congress, and I'm from Mount Carmel School. I'm also 16 years old.
Hi everyone, my name is Aiden Yumo and I am from Grace Christian Academy and I am 15 years old.
All right, thank you all. And we have Bella online. Bella, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. Half a day, everyone. I am Isabella Palacios, and I am currently 16 years old, attending Tinian Middle School and High School, and I am currently the Youth Congress Legislative Secretary.
All right, thank you all for joining us. You all are providing a unique perspective. You can't vote just yet, but your opinion still matters, and every politician likes to say, the youth are the future, they're the next generation of leaders, so here we are talking to you. And so maybe we'll start with the first question. Even if you can't vote, obviously you still care about some issues, given that you've sought out this seat to represent your school in the legislature. So what issues matter to you generally?
Well, for me, I feel like, the economy is always going to be something that's super important for everybody in the Marianas. And I guess if I'm going to relate that to the youth, since I am in Youth Congress, one or a couple questions that I do have is how will our government, ensure that their high school and college graduates who study abroad and do have their degrees, can return and really engage with their people and, I guess, join the workforce. And, do we have like economic plans that the government can provide with us so that we're able to fully plan our careers and our future, around that. Especially for me, since I know that I will be going off island for college, I want to make sure that I have something that I'm able to plan my future around.
Kind of going off of what speaker said, like economically, I think the loss of businesses is a really big issue. For example, Hyatt, it just shut down, and like a big revenue from that is really impacting our island. Like it has like a domino effect from the employees that are losing their jobs and the small businesses within Hyatt that were sharing their customers. And coming into the Youth Congress, business was one of my main goals that I wanted to achieve, like youth in business. So that's why the main issue for me is like how our future politicians are gonna combat this big issue and for the future.
So one of the major issues for me is education. in the Youth Congress, I chair the Committee of Education, and to me, the future starts with education. So if we're gonna make advancements in our Commonwealth for the future, for several years from now, maybe several decades from now, it starts with education. Whether it be in PSS or private school or NMTech or NMC, as long as education is being supported in our Commonwealth, we're gonna move forward and could strive.
All right, and Isabella, joining us online, what issues matter to you?
So for me personally, I definitely think that distinguishing out, our cultural preservation and, innovative ideas and things that can help boost our economy and our government is something that's very important to me. Like how can we basically just ensure that we are preserving our culture while also trying to expand our CNMI and our Commonwealth to greater heights. I think that's something that we should definitely look more into because the Chamorro Carolinian, our culture, it's not always something that's going to be there if we keep going in a direction that leads us elsewhere.
You can easily go to gec.guam.gov to get registered to vote. The primary race set for August 3rd here in Guam. Next, we take a look at the ballot placement. You're watching The Hub. We leave you now with a look at the ballot placement for the primary race here in Guam. Remember, August 3rd primary, don't forget July 18th, last day to register to vote. You can do it on gec.guam.gov. We can also have all the election coverage you need to know this season on kuam.com. For now, I'm Nick Delgado. Stay safe, everyone, and we'll see you soon.